What's up, guys? My name's Sean. And if you landed here, you're watching Scar My Guitar.
You took everything I had, you tore it all apart. But baby, don't you touch my scarred guitar. Don't you touch my scarred guitar.
Now, you guys that watch the channel know I've been on a pretty crazy quest. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to radius a fretboard without spending an hour and breaking my back. Now, hang on just a dang minute. You're gonna ask me, but didn't you come up with some crazy radius sander thing? Boy, I sure did. Now let's talk about that for a second. All right, look, you see the sandpaper? You see how raggedy and wore out it is? Man, I'm talking about, listen, this thing works great, but you see how the sandpaper gets when it gets old? It does this every time at the end of it, and it destroys the fretboard you're putting through it as well. You'll get 3 or 4 fretboards out of this before it does this. And if you change it before it does this, it's still a nightmare. The sticky sandpaper gets stuck onto the drum. You have to get a Brillo pad, a soapy one, and get it off there, and it's just a nightmare. But like I said, the drum sander worked good. But man, if you're gonna change that sandpaper, you're in for a real job. So that's gonna bring us to this little apparatus right here. This, by far, is the best thing I have ever seen, me creating it or anybody else, for radiusing the fretboard. Man, this thing works flawlessly. Before we get to using it, let's go design it. And I'm gonna show you where you can get your own. And if you have a CNC, I'm gonna give you the file to make this free. But if you wanna buy this from me, I'm gonna have a link on eBay. And I'm gonna sell it to you cheap. What, $35? That sound good? Everyone else sells one for around $100. I think 35 is a fair deal. Now you're gonna have to pay the shipping on that. My old buddy Dan from Guns and Guitars, I sent him quite a few files. He's probably gonna be cutting a couple of these out and letting you guys see them. This thing works flawlessly. Doesn't leave any grooves in the fretboard, and I'm gonna show you. All right, that's enough lip flapping. Let's make it happen. The software that I use for my CNC is called Easel. You can go to easel.com. It's E-A-S-E-L. I'll put a link in the description. The first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna set our work area dimensions. If you look on the top right of your screen, you'll see it lighten up blue where it says birch plywood. We're gonna left click on that. And then we can change the dimensions of the board. In this case, we want it to be 17 by 7. And the thickness is going to be a 0.65, just a little over a ½ an inch. So that gives us our board on the right side. We have a detailed view of what we're going to make on the right side. But we want to work on this side, okay? The first thing I want to do is I want to create my radius. To do that, I go over here to the top left. You'll see that little black thing jumping up there. It's lighting up blue. We can get a shape from there. And we need the circle. Now, we want a 12-inch radius. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but whenever you're creating a radius, it has to be twice the size that you want it to be. So if we're doing a 12-inch radius, the circle has to be 24 inches. So we're going to change that. Now we got a 24-inch circle. Pretty cool, huh? Now if you look on this thing over here on the right here, I'm moving around. If you click on the cut tab, we can make it nice and light gray. And then just under that, you'll see the cut path. You see that? And it's lighting up blue, so if their little tab will come down if we click on that. And we want it to cut outside the shape path, so we select that. Now that gives us this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this bad boy about right here, because I know what I want to do here. I'm going to go back up to my shapes and I'm going to make a square. Now I want this square. Now I've already made some measurements about how big I want this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it 10 inches. And then I don't really want it too tall, so it'll be 2.2. If I measured it right, that should be perfect. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back over to this guy, to my cut tab. Click on that. Now I want to go all the way through on this, but I also want to cut outside the shape path. Now if I double click on this, it gives me the opportunity to edit the points. You see this? You see those red lines snapping back into place? But if I hold the Alt tab down, it doesn't do that. See the red lines go away? So I can put it where I want to. let the Alt tab go, release it, and it'll stay there. But if I hit that Alt, if I don't have the Alt tab, it'll snap right there to where it's square, which is a very useful tool. But now that I've got this, I want to try to put it somewhere where it's in the middle. So if it's 10 inches long, I'm going to put it right in the middle of 11 inches. So this little piece here is right on 6 inches. You see that? That's going to give me a base of basically what I'm going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to add a point here. I'm going to add one here, and I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to let it snap. I'm going to add another one over here. I'll let it snap. Add one over here and let it snap. And I'm going to get this, and I'm going to put one right in the middle here. At least I think this will work. But now if you look on the right on this thing here again, right here where it's lighting up, I can make this one curved. So you can make those points curved or straight, because if I click curve, let's go back up to the point. Now you see it gives me these things. You see that? That's pretty cool, huh? We're going to need that. So now that we know we have our radius, let's click on the circle. Let's pull this up here. We're going to pull it up here like so, right in the middle. Right in the middle. That looks about right to me. So now let's select the rectangle again. Double click on it so we get our points. Let's pull this up. Let's try to fit it in place. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger so we can see what we're doing. We'll just pull this down, but it's trying to snap if you notice. So we just use the Alt tab. Pull it down about right there. Now these little things that are coming off of that are what we want. But first we're going to move this up. We're going to move that up about right there. Then if I click on this, I've got that little thing there I can drag. And that's going to put it almost in perfect place. This needs to come down a little. Now if I click on this again, I could pull this down just a little. Just like by extending that, I can pull the other side down some, but I want to make sure that's covered. We'll make it a little bigger. That way we can really get a good look at it. You see it? Just gotta kind of bend it the shape. Same thing for the other side. And I think that's going to do it, boys and girls. So then we just delete our circle. And that's going to be the sled right there. But now I need to add a part for it to slide on. So we're going to add another square. Now I want this to be 2.75 inches. So we're going to change that up here where we did before. Same thing. I could put it right there in the middle. We know where the middle is. I want it to be about right there. So what I'm looking for is about almost 2 inches of clearance there, which looks pretty good. Because then I click on my rectangle again, double click it, add an edit point here, add one here, put one here and pull it up, and put one here and pull it up. Now we want to hide all the black. Now that we got our points, just want to hide all the little black, and we want to make sure it's not overly hidden. We want it to be right at 2.75. There we go. Now we can delete the square. And now we have our base. Now that you basically see how to do it, I'm not going to drag you through the rest of the process to make the rest of it. I'm just going to show you the finished product here. This is the part that's going to slide on the actual base of the jig. This is the part that connects it. And this is the piece you put the router in. All right, let's go cut them out. Now I got this cool new laser engraver from X-Tool, and it's fat. Right now we're gonna burn the radius size on this, so when we make a few more, they won't get confused up. Now that's fat. That's way better than that other laser I got, and it did it in like 3 minutes. So all of our pieces are done. Now I'm gonna put this thing together to show you how it goes in case you can't figure it out on your own. We're just gonna stand these guys up like so. We'll flip them over. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this stick fast glue here. Just a little bit, because it's really good. And that's like epoxy, it's not gonna come off of there. Spray the end of this. And this will stick right on here perfectly. Just like that. Same thing with the other one. I'll lay it down so it's nice and flat and flush. That's what you want. You want it flat, you want it flush. Now we're going to do the same thing for this portion. Stand over here. Try this. So now we got the base. Let's build the top part. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to lay this down. And it doesn't matter which way you put these on right now. It does when you go to stick it on the other thing. That's beautiful, look at that. Same thing with this one. Now that I got that like that, I'm gonna set that up there like this. And we just put this down here as square as you can get him. That guy's looking good, huh? Yep. Now I made that one for my friend. I've already got my 12-inch set up here. Now on your trim router, what you're gonna wanna do is take this ring off, take the screws out. You'll set that right inside this circle right here. And then drill those 4 holes out for the screws to go back into the router to hold it in there. The way this thing's gonna work, I've already hot glued down our fretboard onto what I'm calling the guide rail. And that's a 1-inch thick 2x4 and it's 2.75 inches across. This guy's just gonna slide across there. We're gonna move it ever so gently. Move it ever so gently. Let's do it. Let's stop talking about it. Now, if you look, I got the router bit just touching the top of it for the first couple of passes. As you can see, I'm just holding it right here and just pushing it across. I don't even have the router cranked up. No lines from the router. None. Pretty sweet, huh? Yeah, it's pretty sick, man. And then you can see the radius is perfect. Look at the block. You can see it on there. It's perfect. But man, that thing right there is the best thing to ever come my way for radius in a fretboard. I mean, just look at how perfect it is. It's so good. I just love it. Now, if you want one of these, they're going to be on eBay. There's a link in the description. I appreciate you watching. Till next time, don't you touch my Scar guitar.